Welcome to the Anti-Hustle Business Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Whaley, and I'm here to help coaches, consultants, and service providers like you build profitable, sustainable online businesses without the hustle or the burnout that's so prevalent in the online space. I am here to show you that there is a totally different way to do business that doesn't leave you burnt the fuck out and hating your life. It's time to ditch the hustle culture and embrace a new way of doing business. So get ready to redefine success on your terms and build a thriving anti-hustle based business where you have more money, more naps, more travel, more freedom, more whatever the fuck you want in your life. So buckle up and let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the pod. So this week I received a message from someone in my community, and she was thanking me for my story and putting it out there and sharing some really difficult things lately and just being really honest and vulnerable. And she said something that I hear often, and so I wanted to bring it here. But she said, "You're so brave and you're not scared to put your story out there." And I was like, "Oh, hold on. No, I'm scared. Like, I'm scared shitless half the time. My stomach is usually in knots. I have tons of fucking anxiety, lumps in my throat, stomach aches, there's always lots of sweat. I'm in perimenopause, tons of overthinking, worried about being canceled. But the thing is that I do it anyway. And I want to talk about that today because it took me, I've been storytelling and sharing things specifically for about 12 years, ever since I got sober. One of the biggest examples, because I was starting to think about, okay, what are some times in my life where on the outside it looked like, oh, she's badass, she's fearless, she's going for it. And I started tracing it back. So one of the stories is that I had finished my freshman year of college. I had been away living in the dorms by myself. I was finally out of my parents' house. And I went home for Christmas, and the internet finally existed back then. This was 1997. And I was looking up things that I could do over the summer so that I didn't have to go back home to live with my parents, because the dorms closed down for the summer and I didn't have a job and I couldn't afford to live off campus. So I knew that I needed to go live somewhere else for 3 months. And I had a harebrained idea to be a camp counselor. And that's what I did. I applied. They had farm animals and all of that. And it was in Freedom, Maine. And I got a stipend for traveling, but it was quite low and it did not cover an actual flight, but it did cover a Greyhound bus ticket. So I took a 3-day bus ride from Temecula, California to Portland, Maine, and had done some wild shit in my life up until then. I was 18 and got on the bus and was sick to my stomach, and I cried for hours. And there was no texting. We didn't have cell phones back then. So you just hoped that you got there. I think I called my parents on payphones and cried probably into the next state. There were 2 men getting drunk next to me. I was trying to completely ignore them. But on the outside, it's like, oh, look at Shannon, look at her go. And on the inside, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm going to get killed. Please don't talk to me. Please don't touch me. I spent 3 days really trying to be invisible because of some of the people that were on the bus, some of the men in particular who were on the bus, where I would pretend like I was sleeping and taking up 2 seats. But really, I had like one eye open, just like trying to pay attention. And it was wild. It was wild. And I made it. And then I had to do 3 days back, but I took the bus to Arcata, California, where I was going to college, and they lost my luggage. Literally every piece of clothing that I owned was in this bag and they lost it. So that is like a whole other story. But On the outside, everything looked fine. And on the inside, I was just a fucking wreck. It happened again when I was traveling by myself. I had been traveling around Europe for 6 weeks with my brother and a whole tour. And eventually, the tour ended, and then it was me and my brother, and then my brother went home, and then I was by myself in Dublin, in the Dublin airport, and I was like, I love you. Okay, Matt, I'm going to go find a hostel. And I went into the bathroom and bawled my eyes out. I was so scared. I was in a foreign country. Now, this was in 2003. So now we had internet cafes, but we did not have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones in the way that we have them now. So you're using actual maps. There's no Google Translate. It was very different trying to travel back then. And my love for adventure trumped my scaredy pants. And so I was able to move through it and figure it out. But the biggest one, and I actually have a picture of this one that I can share online. When I decided to move to the Cayman Islands in 2013, I was 33 years old. I hadn't traveled internationally for 10 years. So once I went on that trip to Europe in 2003, I didn't travel again for 10 years because I was partying. I was using all my money to get wasted and buy drugs and alcohol. And then I decided to rip the Band-Aid off and just sell everything I owned. It was either a yard sale, I donated a ton of shit. I got rid of everything, all the furniture that I had accumulated of living on my own and moving around the Pacific Northwest. Packed up, I think I had 2 or 3 bags, and I moved to the island where I had never been before. I only knew 2 people who lived there. And I was under, as you can imagine, a ton of fucking stress. It started with my ears getting really itchy, and then my eyes got really itchy and hot, and then they blew up and were so swollen that I was unrecognizable. And I could feel it. It was like tingling all over my face and on my cheeks. My neck was bright red, like splotchy hives all over. And it was itchy and hot. And I went to urgent care numerous times because they were like, we're worried that this is going to go to your throat and then your throat's going to close and you're going to need help immediately. Well, lo and behold, there was nothing wrong with me. And they said, we don't have any reason for this. Are you under any sort of stress right now? And I said, well, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I feel fine. Like I'm nervous, but my body was like, the fuck, we are fine. And was like, no, my nervous system was absolutely shot. And it ended up being a histamine response to stress. So I am allergic to serious amounts of stress. They gave me Benadryl. They said, so here's some Valium and here is Benadryl. We need you to take 2 Benadryl every 4 hours. This is going to knock you out. So set your alarm and take 2 more in 4 hours because we really need this to go down. Please have someone watch you, right? And minimize your stress. I was like, should I move? What if I move to the island and this continues and I won't have insurance while I'm there? I don't even think I had insurance while I was living in Seattle. This was right before Obamacare, but I still had the free clinics and the low cost clinics and that sort of thing. And so I felt more comfortable. I really, really had to continue to talk myself into going to the island and not losing my plane ticket and not saying, this is too much. I can't handle this. Like it's a sign. And so I had to do it scared. I was so fucking sick to my stomach, but anyone looking at me was like, that's fucking cool. How brave. What a badass move. Like, who does that? Who just like picks their life up and moves, right? And so this is the thing that I want to share and really drive home is that just because something that you want is big and scary and scares the shit out of you, maybe it's making you physically sick, it doesn't mean that it's a sign. It doesn't mean that it's the wrong decision. So, literally everything that I've ever done that has scared the complete shit out of me and made me sick to my stomach was one of the best decisions eventually that I made. None of the big decisions that I have ever made have I've felt like calm and regulated. I know that we talk a lot about that of like, oh, I just got to feel into this. And then we make anything that doesn't feel good or that doesn't feel in alignment. If I would have had that mindset, I wouldn't have moved to the Cayman Islands. I wouldn't have traveled alone. I wouldn't have left so and so or done X, Y, and Z, right? So we really have to be mindful and check ourselves of, are we giving things meaning to confirm our fears? And what is actually happening here? Because if we're waiting for a calm and rested nervous system to make big change, like, of course, this is going to scare the shit out of you. I remember when I jumped out of an airplane and I was so fucking scared. And they were like, of course you are. You're jumping out of a fucking airplane. If you weren't scared, that would be a concern of ours. But any of the big decisions, like picking up and moving, leaving a marriage, of course you're fucking scared. And also, it doesn't mean that that's not still one of the best decisions that you can ever do or make. Getting sober. There was so much work that I had to do to finally admit that I needed to stop and that I needed to take on a new identity. I was terrified. Who am I without drugs and alcohol? I was such a party girl. Everyone knew me as the life of the party, and we had so much fun until it wasn't fun anymore. And I became a really mean and angry drunk and just looking for fights and blacking out. It was fun until it wasn't. But starting my business, leaving the restaurant industry, and taking the leap into becoming a full-time coach, that was fucking terrifying. Talking about my sobriety and putting myself out there. I didn't go through 12 steps. I've been very vocal that that was not the path for me and that it's not a path for a lot of people. And we're shamed for that sometimes. And that was terrifying. I had someone tell me that no one would care about my story or my sobriety because it wasn't legitimate, because it wasn't through the 12 steps. I'm sorry, what? Speaking about the abuse that I've gone through, naming my abusers, talking about being no contact with my mom and what that looks like, talking about my mental health. The last episode that I just put out was really nerve wracking to share because, when you're talking about your mental health, you risk people seeing you as incompetent or, oh, see, I'm happy that I didn't hire her because look, like she's falling apart. Right. And being shadow banned or people making assumptions, or there's just so much stuff. Talking about politics and being really vocal about where I stand. Like, all of this isn't without fear of being judged and canceled and people talking shit to me or doxing me. All of these things come with fear, come with stomach aches and anxiety. I want to say too that most of these didn't come with complete certainty. There's always the thought of, in the back of my head, what if this is the worst decision that I've ever made? What if everything absolutely falls apart? What if I can't make money? What if everyone fires me? What if, right? What if? I had to work through that. All of it was done with shaking hands and a nervous system that was activated. And also, it doesn't mean that it was still a bad decision. I show up because someone showed up when I needed it. So, one of the things that I have continually thought about to help me put my story out there is that I really thought about the women who pushed through their own fear, the ones who did their own work to work through their visibility wounds, to work through their fear of being judged, their fear of being canceled, their own fears and blocks, and the backlash that they maybe even had, but I needed to hear the story. There's plenty of stories that I've told where there was shit talking happening and then people in my DMs saying, "Thank you so much. I needed to hear this so bad." And I'm like, that's exactly who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to these bitches who've got shit to say, who are judging me, who are trolling me, who are doing whatever. I don't fucking care about them. I am here for the ones who need to hear my story from my voice. And I had to do a lot of work around honoring the women who came before me and told their stories, because I started to think about what if they never worked through that? I never would have heard their story. I never would have heard or felt seen and witnessed and less alone. And things would look completely different. And so that was what I really, really had to anchor into. And I did a lot of journaling around this. My story gets into the perfect hands of the perfect people who need to hear it at the perfect time. I trust that my community, my people are going to love the content that I put out, or that they can't wait to hear my stories. They can't wait to hear my take on things. You have to trust that, because if you're going back and forth and being like, what about this person? What about that? You're not fucking talking to those people. You're talking to the people who are zeroed in and focusing on you. You have to develop thick skin. You have to just tune all of those people out. Those aren't the people that are waiting for your story, that need to hear your story. Or your story is exactly what they need, but they're in so much denial or resistance that they're still going to talk shit, but there's something that locked in for them. And years down the road, maybe, maybe not, they'll ever contact you or they'll ever admit to themselves that that was the story that got them thinking about whatever. I've had plenty of those people saying like, oh, when you put that out, I was like, oh, this is bullshit. And then a couple years later, they're like, I get it. I get it now. Want to break free from the hustle and grind and build a successful business? I've helped thousands of clients and students leave their 9-to-5 jobs, travel the world, land their first clients, close 5-figure sales in the DMs, and grow their businesses to 6 and 7 figures. Want to know more? Visit antihustlebiz.com and transform your life and business the anti-hustle way. Okay, back to the show. Really start to think about the impact of your story and the impact that your words will have on your community and in the world. Honor the fear, honor the doubt, and really lock into the fact that your story matters and that people need to hear it from your words, from your mouth, your perspective. How many stories are there of party girls going out there and getting wasted and getting sober, right? But my story might resonate with my people more because of my upbringing, because of my sense of humor, because of my foul language, because of my tattoos, whatever. They've locked in or connected to something else. And I've built that trust with them. And sure, they're going to hear other stories, similar stories, but for whatever reason, my story was the one that helped them finally make a decision to say, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done drinking. That has to matter more. Hearing from other people, knowing the impact that you're having has to be bigger than your fear. People have reached out to me and they've told me that they've gotten sober, that they've left abusive marriages, that they've come out of the closet, they've moved across the world, they sold all their shit and moved to Bali, they spoke up for themselves, they set a boundary that they were never able to set before. They broke cycles. They went contact with their parents or their mom. They changed the trajectory of their life because of something that I put out or something that I said got the wheels turning and inspired them to make some big changes. And it's not because I'm fearless, it's because I didn't let the fear win. I felt the fear and I did it anyway. And that's the impact that we have and the potential that we have. Fearlessness is a myth. That's not a thing. The bravery is the practice. The bravery is what we're focusing on and the work that we need to be doing because I still get called out. People are still talking shit. I'm sure people are still screenshotting posts and unfollowing me. They're blocking me. People that I've just met, people that I've known for a decade, where they realize that our values aren't aligned. I'm still getting stomach aches. I still second guess myself. I still worry about shit that I post. I still feel really exposed sometimes, but I don't let that stop me. I don't let that run the show. And so that's my invitation for you is to really, really get connected to why. Why is it important for you to tell your story? Why is it important for you to share what you've gone through? And it's so cathartic. I would be a storyteller even if I didn't have a business. And as my business has really transformed this last year, the storytelling piece is what I have come back to. I didn't know if it was going to lead me to sales. I didn't know if it was going to mean a new program was coming. I just needed to get back to basics. And I needed to get back to what was lighting me up and why I started this work in the first place, which was to share and speak my truth and encourage other people to do that as well. And so here we are. This is why you're here. So if you're just starting or in the middle of this, do not compare your beginning to my year 12. Don't ever compare where you are in your storytelling journey, your storytelling level, your vulnerability level. Do not compare that to anybody that you're seeing on the internet because I've had 12 years of learning how to hold myself through this, of learning system regulation tools and building the capacity to hold more. That's a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last couple of years, holding more money, holding more clients, holding a bigger business, holding more visibility, what that means, what comes with that, the responsibility. I've done so much work on creating boundaries and healing trauma, the somatic work and practices that I've learned and that I do, the self-trust work that I've done, the building in the safety. So all of this is so important. And I talk about this from a business perspective around money, around business stuff, but this is also around the storytelling piece and it all comes together. All of this it's all one. So learning how to feel safe in your body is obviously going to help you in so many different ways, but especially with the storytelling and the vulnerability piece. Now, another thing, I am estranged from the majority of my family. That changes everything. So many people that I talk to are worried about what will my mom say? What will so and so say? Like I don't want to share this story because it involves so and so. So I just really want to point that out too. It's a blessing and a curse, right? It created an immense amount of freedom when I went no contact, when I went low contact with people in my family. It makes it significantly easier because I'm like, I don't have anyone to, I don't give a shit. Like, I've done the work. So if you are not there, if you are still in contact, this is something that has to be taken into consideration. I don't want you to just blow the lid off of everything because that's going to create issues. There are ways to do this. Happy to chat with you about what that can look like. This is the work that I do with my clients around their visibility and around their storytelling. If you want to talk about that, just reach out to me. So again, that is a huge part of why I can share and talk about the things that I do because of that decision I made more than 8 years ago for some of the people, right? I'm not worried about who I'm going to disappoint. I don't have to worry about people silencing me anymore. I don't have to hide certain information or protect people anymore. And so this has been a process because even though I have been no contact for 8 years, there are still certain things that maybe I won't name that person, or I'll be a little bit more vague with this information because I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to say certain things yet. Maybe when I write my book, that will change. Who knows? But really remember that what you're seeing online from myself and from other storytellers, you don't necessarily know the backstory or what their personal lives look like that allow them to be so candid and to be so free and vulnerable with their information. So really take that into mind. And again, this is why you don't ever want to judge where you are and your storytelling based on what other people are saying. Doing it scared is literally the only way to do it. It's the path. This is your only option, I think, because if you wait until you're not scared anymore, you're probably never going to do a lot of things, right? The fear doesn't disappear. You don't wake up fearless one day. You just get stronger. You get bolder. You get braver. You trust that you can hold yourself through things. You learn how to hold more. You learn how to trust yourself on such a deeper level. You know that you can hold yourself through anything, that whatever comes at me, I can fucking figure it out. And you learn to choose your life and your truth over other people's comfort. And that's why we're here. So we're not fearless. We just do it anyway. We feel the fear and do it anyway. That's all I got. I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for listening to me just ramble this season about my thoughts and the things that have been coming up for me. And yeah, I want to hold the space for you to feel the fear and do it anyway, and just do it over and over and over again. And I don't know if it necessarily gets easier, but you just get bolder and braver. And I mean, especially when you hit perimenopause, you're just like, I don't fucking care anymore. So I hope everyone gets to experience that level of I don't give a shit. So I love you. Thanks for being here. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Anti-Hustle Business Podcast. I hope you found inspiration in the message and that you got some actionable next steps that you can implement right away in your business to start seeing results and moving the needle. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your well-being or your mental health to achieve success. So prioritize your pleasure, play, and rest while you build your business around your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps me reach more entrepreneurs like you who want to do business in a completely new way. For more resources and to connect with my community, please visit my website at antihustlebiz.com and follow me on Instagram at @TheShannonWhaley. Until next time, keep taking those strategic anti-hustle steps toward building the business and life that you love. Take care.